So I went on a Studio Ghibli speedrun recently, and something that really stood out to me was how some of the parental figures are totally suspect. And by that I mean they're straight up neglectful and irresponsible. Now before I begin, I know that the Studio Ghibli films are somewhat the golden child of media, and you can't really criticize them without some weirdo aggressively threatening to eat your firstborn child. Now I'm not going to rip into them. I enjoy watching the Studio Ghibli films, and I'm not just saying that because I don't want my firstborn to become a delectable meal. All of their films have beautiful animation and awesome world building, and the stories are adequate. I want to bring up 3 Studio Ghibli films today that made my head turn, and it usually occurred when the main protagonist was a child. Firstly, I want to talk about Chihiro's parents in Spirited Away. Within the first few minutes, I knew something was up. It's like that feeling you get when you're walking home at night and you feel like there's just someone behind you following. Well, I assume they get that feeling. They always mace me before I get to ask them. For instance, when our protagonist Chihiro is in the car with her parents, the tone in which her mother interacts with her is so cold she could single-handedly mitigate climate change. When Chihiro is all like, "Oh man, my flowers are dying," her mum immediately pipes up and goes, "Well, it's no wonder the way you clung to them." And when Chihiro's feeling down, her mum's just like, "You behave yourself, it is a big day." Well, the more accurate translation is, "Behave yourself, I'm busy today." Which I think is the best thing to say to a child who's depressed. I mean, honestly, it's not like she's kicking the back of the seat or screaming or yelling. She's just mildly upset because she's being uprooted from everything she knows, which is completely understandable for a kid. So anyways, the dad misses the exit to their new home and decides a barely maintained forest road must also lead to the new home for reasons. Now that is a mother who's concerned with her child's safety. Also, I love how blank her face is. Like, this is totally normal. Like, he just does this all the time. He just goes turbo all the time. And so he flattens his foot on the acceleration to the speed of light. Like a totally normal, responsible parent. Christ! Good God! He's decided this path will take him to their new home or he will die trying. I mean, just look at his determined face. Now, this is a man who's prepared to take out his whole family just to not be wrong. I like how he's just so unfazed by almost causing a severe accident. I mean, he has the attention span of an NPC from Skyrim. This man is on a mission. Alright family, I'm going to go into this potentially dangerous abandoned building. You can come with me if you want. I don't really care, but I am taking the car keys with me. Now if you are going to come in with me, just watch out for any rusty nails or syringes. I have not been keeping up with your tetanus boosters. And also if you see any chocolate droppings on the ground, do not eat them, okay? That is rat excrement and you will become very, very ill. I learned that one the hard way. Oh, and Chihiro, can you just make sure you wind down the window about 10 centimeters? I don't want to come back to an oven-baked child. I just had the upholstery cleaned, okay? Ooh, that facial expression really sells that warm motherly love and compassion, doesn't it? Maybe that's a sign your child's terrified? Just a casual family activity of trespassing into a potentially dangerous abandoned structure. Sir, ma'am, you're leaving your child behind. Your child? Oh, and they're gone. Yeah. Do you want some antihistamine? I have some. Is that why you smell? Is that why you say? Hey, I get it. Hay fever's a bitch. Now, if you were doubting me before, that right there is pure evidence. Look, the dad puts his hand out to help his wife cross the hazardous rocks. And for Chihiro, what do? Nothing. That's what. Except the mum goes, hurry up. Ah, well, if she slips and dies, they'll just make another one. Also, look at the mum's face when she realizes there's food around. Like, she has a hint of a smile. And then she turns around to face Chihiro and Immediately all the warmth just drains out of her. If a picture could say 1,000 words, that picture right there tells me that Chihiro is going to be booking therapy sessions at the age of 30. The dad's like a basset hound, what the hell? Chihiro doesn't even want to be there and her parents are just marching on regardless of her existence. Seriously, what kind of people do that? Entitled people, that's what. Now, it's very evident that the film is trying to portray the parents as gluttonous and entitled, but my problem with it is that they have no comeuppance. Sure, they get turned into pigs for the majority of the film, but they don't actually remember it in the end. So they don't change at all. Exactly the same. They haven't changed at all. Now, I understand that this is about Chihiro's growth and development as a child, coming of age, all that nonsense mainstream child media tries to instill upon our children. But how about some growth for those negligent parents? Why is the onus of growth on Chihiro? What I think would be a better ending is if Chihiro just didn't save her parents at all. The last scene is her just walking out of the place, just eating a pork chop. The second film I want to look at today is My Neighbor Totoro. Now, this isn't about the biological parents. I mean, the mom's pretty chill and the dad is, alright. Except for that time he told the children he wanted the house to be haunted. And that time he didn't know May was missing. And that time he was completely fine with them playing instruments on top of a gigantic tree alongside some unknown spirits. And that time he let them play with a rotten wooden structure covered in lead paint. Oh, the lead has already gotten into their brains. But I want to call out the nanny because she's the real antagonist of this story. She has no control over any situation she's faced with, like the school incident. What? She's like 4 years old. How do you have no control over her? I mean, she actually negotiated the nanny to come all the way out to the school. Who is the adult here? What is your purpose, lady? Why are you here? A sea monkey would have been a better choice for supervision at this point. So the older sister has to take the role of the adult and look after May while the nanny goes off and plays bingo. Then there's that time they lost May under the nanny's supervision and they thought she died in a pond. I mean, she had absolutely no awareness of May, which led to her escaping. And then when she does go missing, her role is just to largely sit there rubbing the sandal they found in the pond while the others poke around for May's dead body. Oh, thank God, it just belonged to some other kid that drowned. Alright everyone, pack up, let's go, it's not May. I mean, look how powerless she is to control this situation. May just runs off again and she just meekly puts her arm out and is just like, oh well. One kid goes missing, 2 kids go missing. It's just a rounding error at this point. Who cares? And this is why you just don't grab any old lady off Craigslist to watch over your kids. They should have had the hiring scene in this film where the dad's asking her what her qualifications are and she's just like, well, I've looked after many children in my time and most of them have survived. I'm sorry, what was that last part? I said my house was filled with goblins as a child. You're hired. Alright, this third and final film I want to look at is probably the most controversial because I've seen many people online defending her. But I'm here today to tell you about how the mother in Ponyo is completely irresponsible and reckless as a parent. First off, she drives like a maniac with her 5-year-old child in the car. I mean, just look at her. Not only does she travel at the speed of light on these narrow cliffside roads, but she constantly takes her eyes off the road. You know, I know there's railing present to stop people like her hurtling off to a watery grave, but this ain't a bowling alley. Then there's that time she plays chicken with a cargo ship. And she at least goes 60 in a school zone. Secondly, when Sosuke goes down to the rock pools, you know, below the nursing home, the mother's more concerned about him apologising to the old lady for the fish squirting her in the face with water than she is of him being in a potentially dangerous environment. Well, to be fair to her on that one, it's not like there's a possibility of him drowning, right? Oh. Thirdly, when her dad calls in to tell him he won't be home and that he's going to be offshore, her reaction in front of her 5-year-old kid is a little bit inappropriate. I get that it sucks, but she's kind of teaching Sosuke that the right reaction in this situation is to slam and break things and to drink alcohol. Which I'm pretty sure is not the right thing to do. Later that night, she's being completely immature about the whole thing, leaving Sosuke to feel like he has to take the role of the adult. Look, even the toy box is shocked by her reaction. I mean, I get you could argue that the father is not being present for the family, but he is on a ship. Like, I'm pretty sure it's a little bit more complicated than just going like, all right, guys, haul her in. I want to go hang out with my fam. Shortly after the scene, we see Lisa is passed out on the bed and Sosuke is forced to be her emotional support.
Lisa, 泣かないの。僕も泣かないから。
At no point should a 5-year-old feel that they need to be the therapist for their parent and teach him how to deal with situations.
僕ね、ポニョを守ってあげるって約束したの。ポニョ、泣いてないかな。
Christ, the child should be playing with Legos, not being forced to look after his mum. And fifthly, I don't know where I am with this whole numbered argument thing, but the most eyebrow-raising thing she does, the thing that cements my belief that she's an irresponsible, reckless parent, is how she handles the hurricane situation. Oh, and while we're on the topic of irresponsible adults here, can we just give bonus points to the teacher who let Sosuke out on his own in the hurricane? Now let's begin when the mum decides to take Sosuke and herself back home during the beginning of the hurricane. Classic Lisa goes Tokyo drifting to beat the storm and ends up at the boat crossing again. She's told by the dock workers to turn back because she's heading in the direction of where the storm is hitting the hardest. She becomes worried for the old people, but the dock workers tell her that they'll be fine because the storm will not hit that area. Now that is important, okay? Just remember that for later on. However, she does not heed the warnings and continues on her trek, even though the dock workers tell her that there's a safer passage. So instead of taking the safe passage, she decides to 1v1 a tidal wave, with her 5-year-old child in the car. Yes, that was an entirely rational action. Yes. But really, what's the worst that could happen? Even if they got hit, I'm sure Sosuke's an excellent swimmer. Don't tell him to get back from the railing. I'm sure nothing bad will happen. What? I gotta give props to her though, she took in that frog child without even blinking. Although I love how when Ponyo says that her father keeps her prisoner and that she escaped, Lisa isn't even fazed by it. She's just like, alright, yeah, that sounds normal. So later they see some lights appearing at where the old folks' home is, and Lisa decides she wants to go there and make sure that they're safe.
宗介、私ひまわりへ行ってくる。
What was that the dock workers were saying earlier again?
あそこは島垣だし、堤防も高いからだ。
Oh. Nah. Better leave 2 5-year-olds in a building next to a cliff because those dock workers might be wrong. They weren't wrong. Those old people were safe.
今なら通れそう。山を回れば行けるかもしれない。
Oh, now you're going to take the mountain road? The decision to leave baffles me. I understand that someone needs to be home to be the lighthouse, but why does she need to leave? She should be staying home and making sure her child doesn't get swept away or the situation doesn't turn for the worst. Like, I don't know, the place almost gets flooded. But no, you gotta make sure these old people are safe. Tokyo Drift style! Okay, so I know of you are probably frantically typing comments right now explaining how this isn't a sign of bad parenting because Sosuke is actually really mature for his age and she knows he'll be fine if she leaves him with Ponyo. Well, you have fallen right into my trap because unusual maturity in a child is a sign of neglectful parenting. As Dr. Susan Ford illustrates in her book Toxic Parents, Chapter 2, when a child is forced to become the emotional support for their parent, e.g. the scene where their dad wasn't coming home, a child experiences rapid, unhealthy growth of development in maturity, robbing their sense of childhood and, in many cases, creating a codependent relationship between child and parent. This can quickly develop lifelong personality issues, which takes many years of therapy to untangle, if at all. And also, I don't care how mature a kid seems, he's 5 years old. And we have already established that he will willingly wander out to sea even though he can't swim. And even then, Sosuke doesn't even stay at home. He actually goes out with Ponyo to find his mum. Proof that he wasn't as mature as he once seemed, right? I just want to emphasize, if she was a real person, I don't think she's a bad person. I mean, she took in Ponyo without second thought. All I'm saying is she's just reckless and irresponsible as a parental figure. That's all I'm saying. Also, I've seen many people write about her being basically a single mother with the dad being gone so much, and it's really hard for her, and we shouldn't be so harsh on her actions. And I agree, life would be really hard looking after a child all by yourself. But just because someone's actions are understandable doesn't make them right. Well, that's about it for today. I'm sure there'll be many healthy discussions about parenting in the comments section below. Actually, just quickly, can we talk about the radish spirit? I want to talk about the radish spirit, okay? What's his deal? He has nipples, okay? Does that imply he's a mammal? Are there female radish spirits? Do they breastfeed baby radishes? And the cloth. I can't stop thinking, what's it hiding? Is it covering a radishy dick? Is that how they mate? Is that how radishes are made? But he doesn't have a belly button, so they don't feed babies through an umbilical cord? There's no womb? I just can't stop thinking, is this what my life is now? Thinking about radish dicks? I need to call my therapist.